Hey, what's up? Let's have some fun. Episode 144. 154. What the heck's wrong with me? Let's do it. Oh, yeah. Come on in. Happy Monday. It's crazy sweet. There we go. Party on. What's up, people? Happy Monday. Come on in. Oh, we got a good group in here. Charlemagne, how are you? I'll answer your question in a second. Atomic Pirate Girl. Camillo. Hatham. My mama. What's up, mama? My sis is in there, too. What's up, sis? All right, we got a crew. Come on in. Get yourself situated. Grab a drink. I'm jacked on iced tea. I've got the good incense burning. It's Monday, my favorite day of the week. I've got Beyond Good and Evil right here. I'm going to read something from this tonight, something I discovered. I got a lot to say. If you're new... Oh, my record's skipping. Wow, that doesn't happen. There we go. Yes, everything's analog here. CD... vinyl. Kind of funny. Oh, here we go. It's live. We're live. There's a chat below. If you're watching right now live, it's Monday, it's live. Please say hi. If you're new, jump in, say hi. If I don't know you, introduce yourself. If I do know you, introduce yourself. We have a great group. Please feel free to chat, comment, ask questions. This is a great group. Donations, yes, if you're the donating type, great. Bang Zoom, there's a link below. You can also find my Wacky Mart. Oh my god, the record won't stop skipping. Hold on here. I am having multiple problems. Hold on a second. Analog is superior when it's not scratched. I have a brand new needle on this thing. I put a new needle in. It's great. But this record, I don't know what happened. I might have to adjust the arm tension. Analog is superior. One reason it's... And if anybody wants to debate that, you can win with 1 second. John Carter, what's up? You can win by just saying, if you own an analog copy, unless a fire... comes by, you're okay. Analog meaning vinyl. If we have a solar flare, all the digital stuff's gone. If we have governments that don't like the things we're doing or listening to, they can also erase it all too. So analog is superior. For many reasons. Let alone the quality, yet the sound quality. The song I play before every episode, Mr. Charlemagne, is... a song I wrote. That's me on bass, and it's my writing. On guitar is Dave Weston from the band Weston. I don't know if you remember those guys. And those were demos that I put together before we made this unreleased Karen Black record. It's a 14-song unreleased record that I wrote every song. Lyrics, not all the lyrics I wrote, but I wrote the music, and I own it. So, Lorkin, what's up, buddy? Cheers. Happy Monday. So that's what that song is. If you hear music in any of my projects, it's mostly me. It's either Toilet Boys, Opulence, unused Karen Black tracks, or just me goofing around, acoustic. I'm not a guitar guy, but some of those, my opening song is me. I'm a bass guy and a writer guy, not a guitar guy. Let's see, what else before we get in the subject? I can't find my stupid Wacky Mart logo. But anyway, my Wacky Mart's up and running. I saw Godzilla again, so I've seen it twice. If you haven't seen it, go do it. Amps. Okay, it's funny. Sans amp? Yes, every bass player should have a Sans amp until... Thank you, Camillo. Very grazie. Means a lot to me. I would say... bada bing! I like it when there's donations. It does like a... the graphics. There we go. Oh, wow. Well, the Karen Black record, I'll do a whole show on that one day. I don't use any pedals. I don't use any drives, and I don't use active pickups. I'm a believer in, if you have an Ampeg 8x10 SVT Classic, you don't need anything. If I'm on a big venue, 2 of them's great, but 1 will suffice. They move the air. Now, Sans amp is great. I will give that 2 thumbs up. Especially if you're not using your own rig and you need a little bit of a zip and a little push. But I'm not a gear guy. I never was. I don't use pedals. I don't like anything extra because it's more room for error. So I'm a simplest. I don't even use tuning pedals because there's more plugs and more room for me to kick it and knock it. I can tune my guitar, my bass. If I do. Let's go. I don't need a pedal. All I need is somebody. I don't need it. I've gotten away with it my whole life. It's the only amp. I'm not kidding. If you're a bass player, if you're learning bass and you're gonna be in a band, go big. You can play it on 1 or 2 at a small venue. It still sounds great. But if you can crank that thing to 3, 4, 5, woo, 10, you're not getting it. Man, those things are amazing. Ampeg SVT Classic. I've owned 2 in my life. I had one in the old days, sold it. Then I was borrowing Squid from Lunachicks. Her SVT was in my house for like 8 years. And then I have a newer one that I've been using. I don't need anything else. It is a pain in the butt to move around. But it's like owning a harp. It's big, but worth it. What else was I going to say? So I have 2 stories tonight before we get into the subject. I went and saw Marky Ramone play on Saturday, and I have a really funny story about what happened. And it was exciting and great. And if you follow me on Instagram, which I highly recommend you all do, Cardone Magic, one word, I post stories on these subjects. So my plan was to go to the show, and I have the QR code for the Ramones Amphitheater. So I'm like, I'm going to get a lot of signatures tonight. So, I didn't have a ticket. I was pretty sure it wasn't going to sell out, but I, was taking a risk. They were at the Gramercy Theater, and I've only performed there once with Karen Black and Toilet Boys. It's the only night I played in 2 bands in the same show. So I did a Karen Black set and then a Toilet Boy set. And it was an epic night. I'll never forget it. But I haven't been there in a while. So Marky Ramone's playing. And I get there. And as I'm getting, Ashworth, what's up? As I'm getting there, I'm waiting for the ticket people to open up the ticket box office. And this guy sees me it was like a group of 4 or 5 people. And they were like my age, and they were like, "Oh, you need a ticket?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, and I was waiting for him to, be like, "I got an extra. You want it for half price?" He was like, "I'll just give it to you." So I was like, "Oh, wow. Great. Thank you very much." As soon as he said that and we were talking, he noticed that I had some satanic regalia on. Okay? Pretty out there open, which I occasionally will throw on for my own fancy, right? So I immediately had one of the most amazing conversations with this gentleman. He basically was like, "Whoa, is that real? And I'm a man of God." And he kind of like, it kind of bugged him out a bit. But I do what I think I'm pretty good at. I not only explained myself really quickly, I made a friend. I mean, I was like, "Bro, I can hang out with you all night. I have nothing against you." And quite frankly, because I told him I was an atheist, ultimately. And he was like, ooh. And I was like, "Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to blow your mind." And he goes, "What?" And I go, "Most atheists believe in God." Now, when I first heard this, when I was younger, it made me angry. Because I was assuming the thought is, did you ever meet a Christian that goes, everybody believes in God but won't admit it? And if you're an atheist, you're just lying to yourself because you actually believe in God. Well, I actually believe that now to be true. I think most atheists do believe in God. So when I told him that, he was like, "Wow, how can an atheist say this and be an atheist?" And I explained to him, most atheists believe in good. And for me, good is, just add another O, it's a version of a God. It's a perfect little thing, a perfect way, the correct moral way to behave. So when I see certain atheist types that think there's a correct and moral way to go about things, I put them in the God category. And so this guy's head was blown off that I would even say that. And I said to him, "So I don't think you're wrong, like your belief in your God," because he kept saying he was a man of Jesus. And I'm like, "Look, most people believe in God, and most atheists believe in good." So I said to him, "I don't believe good is a thing, and I don't believe evil's a thing." And I gave him a little quick rundown of what that meant while we were waiting to get in. And I swear to God, the way people talk to each other is the problem. People don't have good communication skills. If you're able to take your view of the world and put it in a package that somebody else can see clearly, you don't make an enemy. Like, this guy realized I was non-threatened by my values have nothing to do with him or influencing him or, oh, so few people can wrap their minds around the concept. Yes, you're right. Even people that lean to the left-hand path or the atheist types. I swear, I'm blown away by how often I encounter do-gooder atheists. This is where, you know how a very religious Christian will point to atheism being the most destructive force in the world. Like, look what Stalin did with atheism. And I disagree. Atheism's just a lack of belief. It's when you attach a value of good to atheism is where I see a problem. Because it's the same thing as the religious thing. It's the same thing. So, try Al Jiwa in case you want the full atheist transition. I have to look at that, Sweaty Writer. That sounds neat. Al Jiwa. Wait. I do know this then. How does that spelled? If I may, what makes me think there is no God? Well, first of all, Charlemagne, we got to define God. Because when I think of God, I'm using the word God to describe the idea of I love your questions, by the way, Charlemagne, always. I do have those books. Of course I do. I'll look into it in a second. I define the word God. When somebody mentions God in public, I assume they're talking about a deity, a floating ghost of intelligence in the sky that's calling the shots. Oh, the Yazidi stuff, of course, yes. Yes, I'm very familiar with it. I am. I'm very familiar with the Yazidi stuff. So, as in a floating conscious deity in the sky, I have yet to see no evidence of that exactly. As of a mystery in the universe, I can't answer it. If you want to call it God, go ahead. I will never call it that. There might be some overlying... So that's why I don't buy into... I'd rather it be about good and morals than God. That's what I like to chew on. Because God is... I don't even know what someone means when they say it. For me, God is like... the word energy. It means nothing. It's too much of a word. Like, oh, I feel energy. Like, somebody was partying in my hot tub one day. It was a friend of a friend, and they were like, I just believe in energy. And I was like, well, okay, but what do you mean by that? Do you mean electricity? Do you mean a ghost? Do you mean ultraviolet light? What do you mean by energy? And that person meant chi, like a magic life force, which to me is spiritual. You know, it's a spirit. So that's my take on the God thing. I am an atheist agnostic. If you ask me, is there a God? My answer is, I don't know. Do you believe if there's a God? No, I don't believe there's one. So, did that make sense? I hope so. So anyway, we had this great chat. I mean, I made friends with this religious guy at the Ramones show. While I'm in line, another friend of mine who lives near me in Rockaway Beach, he comes to my Rambones shows, and he's a friend, and he's like always telling me that his uncle is Marky Ramone. So he's like, oh yeah, my uncle's playing tonight, and I'm here. And I'm with his family. It was his adult kids and his wife, and they were out partying as a family. It was great. And as they're waiting in line, he's like, yo, you want a backstage bracelet? Yeah, of course I do. So he gives me that. I get into the building. And I immediately run into a million friends. On stage is the boss of the Slip Room, James, DJing. So, of course, I'm like, no! And he's like, oh, hey. I didn't expect to see him. Some of my burlesque friends were go-go dancing. My theremin buddy playing theremin as the opening act, which was amazing. And then, you know, Marky comes out and blows the roof off. His band is a cover band, a Ramones cover band from South America. And they're good. They sound like the Ramones. They're, you know, I thought they were a little loose. I'm a downstroke guy, so I'm very like, but they were great. I mean, dude, I was in the front singing my heart out. And then at the end, I went, you know, I did the backstage thing, and I knew everybody. It was so weird. My friend is there talking to his uncle. My other friends were the opening act and the DJ, and then Marky, I got to chat with him about when we toured Canada. I was like, yo, you remember our Canadian tour? And he was like, yeah. It was me in my band and Marky and Dee Dee's band called The Remains, which was the remains of the Ramones. So, no, he does not, Mr. Mealy. No. But dude, listen, Marky, if he's wearing a wig, they figured out how to mix in a few gray hairs because it looked pretty good. I was the worst wig in rock right now is Michael Anthony Battio, the new Manowar guitar player. His wig is like clearly a wig. Oh, I like that Sweaty Writer wrote, Kabbalistically, God is a zero, a force like gravity at best. Yeah, if I had to like choose my version of a god, it would be that. It's yeah. Huh. It's Man in Black stuff. I love it. Well, at any rate, he's like 72 years old, and dude, he can still do the thing. It's funny. I told the guy in line that I had problems with good as a thing when I was a kid. I was able to look at things that people were calling evil and being empathetic and putting myself in their shoes. So being empathetic with evil is something people don't talk about a lot. I did it as a child. Not only did I do it as a child, when I went to theater school, I thought it was important that actors... Oh, you didn't know that Mateo's in Manowar? Yes, he is. He's actually doing a good job, too. Check it out. Oh, yes. Joey called out his wig. He did, on the Stern Show. Speaking on bass pedals, the Sans amp. Well, yeah, we were talking about it earlier. If you don't have an SVT, get a Sans amp. It will blow your mind. If you have an SVT and a nice bass, I don't think you need much. It's perfect. And you can make it growly with the gain. I mean, bass for me is SVT. If you're playing rock and roll, SVT. Spend the money. I think a whole setup's about $3,000. You'll never need it again. If you're young and you buy a SVT and a small solid state for backup, you don't need anything for the rest of your life. Yeah, so I've always been the guy that kind of puts myself, and I thought as an artist it's kind of important to do that. If you're an actor, you have to see the bad guy as the good guy. You know? The good guy thinks the bad guy's going, I'm evil. And even if they are thinking I'm evil, they think they're furthering some cause. They're expanding. It's their will to power. So, yeah. So, it was quite an amazing little evening mixed with philosophy, fun. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin. It was a really fun night. So, and I got a lot of people to sign my petition. So let's jump into the actual subject, shall we? Is my sound okay tonight? So far, it seems good. Everybody got a drink in their hand. Tonight's episode, I decided to call it Boo-doo-boo, Please Lie to Me and the Value of Vapid. All right, let me get my camera back here. I remember I asked on this show, you know, are you okay with the government lying for your safety? I like asking people that question for a few reasons. I'm curious of what their answer is. But I'm also curious to what the reaction is when I just ask the question. Like, are you, like, for instance, thank you very much. It sounds okay? Cool. You know, if somebody says to me, hey, are you okay with the government lying to you for your safety? My answer is no, not okay with it. But a lot of people, I'll be like, are you okay with the government lying to your safety? They'll give me this like look like, wow, I've never thought about that before, which is kind of weird. But I get a lot of that where they're like, what do you mean lie to me? Ooh. Now, some people quickly realize I might be talking about the vaccine stuff. Like, you know, maybe we didn't have to do the lockdowns, but if we make up a little thing, it'll make it safer for people. That's okay. You know, like that kind of stuff. And so I'll get that reaction, meaning if I'm asking that question, they've already put me in a box of who politically they're aligning me with. So I do like asking the question for a lot of reasons. It's a meaty question. Are you okay with the government lying to you for your safety so that you're safe and okay? And then you can think of the question, are you okay with anybody lying to you for your safety or for your well-being? I think everybody's subconsciously saying yes, but most people say no. They'll go, no, I'm not okay with it, even though I guarantee you I could get them to accept a bunch of lies because it feels better pretty quickly. I'm pretty sure. I see it too much. And I think what it is if you think about it, the concept of will to power, which if you watch my show, I bring it up a lot. It's the most simple thing, but means so much. It implies so much. I started calling it something else. I started calling it expanding. It sounds better. It's easier for people to understand. And it's kind of more accurate, in my opinion, of the feeling. Lying. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I mean, omission. Yes, both. I would say it's both. Yes, lying through omission, I would say, yes. And deceit, like completely making stuff up. I would say both. The boldly stand erect poem rejects the notion of any foreign or authoritative thoughts opposed. Yeah, but for a lot of people, that's painful. But I think the will to power applies to the part of our body, in our minds, that likes to BS itself. It really does. It likes to make things up to make ourselves feel good. And so we lie to ourselves to make ourselves feel good. That concept that I'm presenting as are you okay to be lied with? We do it all day to ourselves. Okay? It's like a survival tool. It's kind of crazy, right? Well, yeah. Neuron Crux brings up, yeah, the government's crooked, so exactly. But again, you look, how many people know the Catholic Church is crooked, but yet still show up and give them money? How many people had family members that were molested by priests, and they still just pay money to the system? It makes them feel good. So I'm saying our subconscious not only likes it from the external, it does it itself is what it looks like. So, all right, so now let's pause. Let's look at something. And I've mentioned this many times on old episodes, but we basically evolved to run away from negative stuff, emotions, and negative things around us. And I wanted to talk about tonight an extreme version of that, evolving to run from negative. And the most extreme version I can find is something I have encountered. Oh, yes, I have. Borderline personality disorder. Now, I lived with somebody who I noticed had some sort of something. And I couldn't figure out what it was, and it's fine. And I had a friend who occasionally watches this show mention to me about him dealing with borderline. And when I heard what he described, it made me like shake, because he was describing things so detailed that I had experienced that it seemed too obvious. I did my own research. I would bet my entire life savings that yes, it was borderline. So here's how I describe borderline. If we have a scientist watching this, or a doctor, or a psychologist, and I'm wrong with this description, or it's a bad way to describe it, please tell me. But I think I figured it out. And I think it's important to what we're talking about tonight. Very important. Here's what I'm taking us to an extreme version of, like, the idea of running from negative emotion. Okay? So a borderline personality disorder, it's not a disease, it's a personality disorder, meaning their brain wiring for personality, whatever it is. The reason why it's a disorder is it actually causes problems in your daily life. If it doesn't, it's not a disorder. You could have traits of a narcissist, but if it doesn't get in the way and you have lots of friends, then you have the positive version of a narcissist. If it's causing you to lose all your friends and family, then you have the disorder version, right? So borderline, here it is. Because of some sort of abandonment in childhood or wherever, it causes two things to happen. One is super sensitivity emotionally. They have a nerve ending exposed that's super sensitive. So if something painful and upsetting comes in, they feel it 10 times worse than you would. And if something happy comes in, they're so filled with joy that it's off the charts. Okay? So that's the first part. The second part is the main part. They have a pair of ears that hear everything as an attack. So when you combine the two, you have a time bomb. So you have somebody who's super sensitive, but everybody's attacking them. So if somebody says something nice, hey, you look great today. Why would you say that to me? You see, it's not taken as a positive. It's immediately taken. Okay, so here we go. People that have encountered this. When I mention this to people, a lot of people are like, oh my God, I live with somebody like that. Well, good luck, because it's the hardest one to fix. Here we go. Ooh, let me pause. Okay, I'm going to read these comments now. So borderline, they run from negative emotion. They only surround themselves with people that have positive things to say. If somebody criticizes them, gives them constructive criticism, says anything sort of negative in any way, shape, or form, they are murderous and an enemy and a problem. And anybody that praises them is their best friend, and they usually make good friends. Now, another way you can spot borderline is they have a new group of friends every few years. Every few years, they have a new group of friends. Why? Because they burned all the bridges at the other place. So you see them hopping around like this. If you watch the movie Showgirls, it's literally about borderline. The movie should be called Borderline with the Madonna song, because that's what it's about. If you haven't seen it in a while, watch it after me explaining this, and you'll have a whole new... Okay, here, wait, let me look. Oh, this is good. Okay. The thing is, governments, like people, have adversaries, and they must keep certain informations out of them. Yeah, okay. Completely transparent governments would be defeated by... Oh, yeah, of course. I agree. Yeah, you do have to BS people. Yeah, I would agree. I'm not saying it's bad to or good to. I'm just saying I prefer not myself. But yeah, you're right. You're right, 100%. Information is power. Yep. Sort of personal disorder. Well, okay. All right. So, all right. Why are there more personality disorders? Now, either there really are more disorders, or it's not real and they're not real. I'm going to talk about that tonight. I actually think there really are more personality disorders. And it's because of lack of purpose and lack of being plugged into nature. And when I mean plugged into nature, I don't mean going on camping trips. I mean, you're plugged into a system of living where, you're directly related to your food source, your friends group, your living. All right, well, hold on. We're getting sidetracked. I'm going back to that in a second. This is so good. So, these borderlines, I'm only bringing them up because I think it means something. I like to take things to extremes and explore that and think about what it means. So these are the people that are on the extreme. They avoid all negativity. And so they're constantly bopping from new group to new group, new friend to new friend, seeking positive reinforcements. And it's usually very shallow. It can't get too deep. It has to stay on a surface level. Because as soon as it gets a little deep, it gets a little spicier. And so everything's very hee-hee. Ah, you're great. You're a superstar. Hee-hee. It's very like that. Now, one of the solutions to this idea of running from negative emotion was attempted to be solved by the Stoics. So out of all the philosophies, I always thought the Stoics, they were the one that was more like Confucianism, where it's like a useful little tool. For me, philosophy is not really, I don't think of it as a tool, even though it kind of is for certain things. My son, I forgot to mention this. He was in the subway today, And I wish I would have uploaded the photo. I don't know if I can show this. I'm going to try to show this like this. It was a billboard in the subway that says philosophy works. Okay, it's nothing fancy. And it says, hold on. This is in the subway. It says, philosophy works, a 10-week course that will help you find calm in the chaos. And, okay, so it's selling philosophy class as an answer. I don't like that. When I saw this, it made me kind of like, what? It should say, a course in philosophy where you're going to find more chaos in the chaos. That's what it should have said, because that's what philosophy does. Now, Stoicism, as a tool, is the version of finding calm in the chaos. And that's why I think Nietzsche had a problem with some of the Stoic stuff, is it had a do-gooder badge. They were do-gooders. They were, we're the right way. I think what the Stoics had to offer as a system is quite useful, but not for everybody. And that is, if you're going to train your body, I forget who wrote, like, was it Seneca? I think Seneca's the one that was like, look, you know, when a boxer goes into the boxing match, he's training taking a punch. You have to be able to take punches. You can't box. Blame fragile egos. Yeah, that is good. So why not do that with your emotions? We all are going to face suffering. Every one of us. Everyone. You're going to face either your own suffering physically or observe it around you. It's coming. Sorry to say, it's got it. We all have doom and gloom ahead. We have death awaiting. It's not pretty. So, why not start to think about it a bit and embrace it a bit and discuss it? And this is, you know, this is tragedy. This is what tragedy as an entertainment form came from. So, I get it. Why not do it? Put yourself to the test. Think about it a little bit so that when it shows up, you're not bamboozled and baffled by its power. Now, the idea of, okay, Nietzsche showing up. I wanted to read this. We were talking about lying being important. Like the whole, like, the government needs to lie once in a while. So let me see if I can read this. This is Beyond Good and Evil. Essay 39. I will tell you right now, in my opinion, Beyond Good and Evil is one of the greatest books ever written. It's definitely in my top 5 favorite books. I put it in the top 5. I have the cheapo edition. If you get this book and you're brand new at Nietzsche or philosophy, you won't know what the hell's going on. Maybe human, all too human. Right. Okay, isn't it true that there's no agreed definition of what a mental disorder is? Well, I'll define it right now. If you have a mental pattern of seeing the world that causes you strife and pain and misery because of how your personality developed completely differently than everybody else's because of trauma, that's a disorder. So yes, you can study it. I can show you 30 people that had trauma and they have the same symptoms. They're acting out the same way. Here's something, borderlines use the same words. When I was doing my research on borderline, yeah. No, there's definitely. So okay. I was doing research on borderline. One of the things it said was borderline people will refer to themselves as like they want to feel empty. They want to feel nothing. And they want to feel like an inanimate object, a rock. And the person I knew literally said, I want to be a rock. I want to be a rock. When I heard that, I was like, oh my, they're even using the same terminology. So, yeah, it's pretty intense. So I want to read this Nietzsche thing. All right, here it is. You know, I'm going to read not this translation. There's different translations. Let me read this one. This one's a little jankier. Well, when you read Friedrich Nietzsche, you do have to find better translations, because some of them are a little weird. All right, here, check this out. You're going to like this. Something might be true. Hold on. Something might be true, although at the same time harmful and dangerous to the highest degree. Indeed, it could pertain to the fundamental nature of existence that a complete knowledge of it would destroy one. So that the strength of a spirit could be measured by how much truth it could take, more clearly to what degree it needed to be attenuated, veiled, sweetened, blunted, and falsified. Now, one of the truths I think we have done this with is the idea of free will. To me, that's an example of that. We all believe in free will. Why? Because we feel it. But if you examine it from a physics, philosophy, and now neuroscience point of view, free will has got a bad case. It almost looks like God. God is free will. Man in God's image is free will. Very interesting. So that's why my version of free will, that's God. That goes in the God category. And he's saying here, Nietzsche, yeah, that knowledge might destroy somebody. And I've seen it do it. I've seen it. Telling somebody there's no God, I've seen that make people bugged out. Telling someone there's no free will, I've seen that is even worse of a reaction, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. I highly recommend Beyond Good and Evil. That one has the essay where he goes after the Stoics for being do-gooders. I've read that one on this show. It's one of my favorite essays by him. So, you know, I was explaining the extremeness of a borderline personality disorder. Well, now let's pull the camera back and take that borderline personality disorder and apply it to a culture, a cultural movement, a giant group of people. They say borderline is triggered in an early childhood through an abandonment, the loss of something, a neglect, a lack of love, a lack of comfort, something to make an early child's developing brain develop a radar looking for danger 24 hours a day on a level that's not healthy. And also a super sensitive bone waiting for it. Think about it as a culture. Has the youth become more sensitive? Yes. It's kind of one of the big debates right now. Has the youth become not only sensitive, but only seeing everything as an attack, and that they are the suppressed? They've created clubs of this, we are suppressed, we have to fight the oppressor. It literally fits the borderline. When I was researching for this episode the other day, I really was like, oh my goodness, it's the same thing. Am I crazy? I'm being dead honest. I'm really like being dead honest. When I apply it to like modern world, like how we're living, the borderline thing is eerily similar to how things are going now. It's like humanity has become a borderline personality disorder. Now, what do we get out of that? Well, we get vapidity as a virtue. Is that a bad way to see a line drawn? That's what it looks like. This is where the Kardashian Paris Hilton thing comes from. I'll never forget. Oh, well, dude, yeah, you're right. Neuron crux. As a culture, we've also lost many meaningful rites of passage. Yes, that's part of it. Yeah, 100%. Those rites of passage were tied to ancestors. This is why religion is powerful. Culturally, not spiritually. Culturally, you know, it gives us a tie. I want the Dalai Lama to lose his glasses. That's funny. All right. So I remember watching Jay Leno way back when Snooki was on. What was Snooki? What do you call that show? Jersey Shore. And she was a guest, and I remember she was like, sitting there, and he's like, "What kind of books do you like to read, Snooki?" And she's like, "I don't read." I actually met somebody the other day. I was like, "Oh yeah, what kind of books do you like?" And they were like, "I don't read." When I hear that, I don't know what to say. It makes my... There's the old saying by Anton LaVey, "It's too bad stupidity isn't painful." It's not... I don't use the word stupidity anymore. I actually don't like that word. It's about curiosity. Very different. You can be very smart and not very curious. Here we go. To use Plato's analogy, the guy who went back to the cave to free the others would be considered delusional, mentally ill. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, in the cave analogy, yeah, he goes back to the cave like, "Guys, hey, guess what? There's a whole world out here." Yeah. Oh, yeah, if someone even admits they don't read books, it's even more amazing because it means they don't mind. It's not embarrassing. They're kind of laughing at it. To me, vapidity has become a value. It's celebrated. It's cheered on in a way that's disturbing. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's funny. I wanted to end this show on this quote, but I'm not going to end with it because I'm going to say it now. John Waters. Anybody know the John Waters quote about books? Now, the internet right now scours these videos looking for bad words. And, you can't say the S word anymore, which is doing yourself in. You can't talk about that anymore on YouTube. You can't say certain politicians' names. It flags you. I'm not kidding. The F-bomb I don't use too often on these channels because it flags it. But I think John Waters' quote is, "If you go home with someone and they don't have any books, don't F them." If your kids are watching, sorry. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yep, that's it. That's the quote. It's a good quote. John Waters. Cheers, John Waters. Really, I don't... it's kind of shocking. To have a culture that is not vapid requires a few things. Stephanie O in the house. Yes, it's a good quote. It requires a curiosity, a real curiosity. Someone who wants to know what's going on. They have questions. If I meet somebody, I don't care if they're a plumber, a doctor, a lawyer. I have questions. I'm curious. Every single walk of life, if you sit me in a room with them, I definitely will have questions that I'm interested in. This is kind of why I can make friends with anybody. Oh, he is making a new movie, Sherman. Cheers, Rick Sherman. How are you? My voice is a little rough tonight. I was singing my Ramones songs earlier, and I kind of blew my cords out. I'm also recovering from coughing for a few weeks. Do you know how many people are sick right now? Do some research on immune systems long-term with the vaccine. I shouldn't have said that word, the V word. There's some stuff that shows, yes, it might have prevented side effect, more severe symptoms in the beginning, but it's a wreck on the long-term immune system. I'm not an expert at that, but I've been finding some stuff that looks kind of like it might be real. They don't do a lot of research here because the pharmaceutical companies don't want that because it's too late now. It's already been done with. In Europe, there's a few places doing it. Check it out. Issue now. With the internet, Yeah, you can acquire a lot of knowledge on a superficial level that makes you think you're very knowledgeable and you aren't. 100%. There's a name for it, where pretend like buying a book about some subject that you're curious about satisfies and creates a dopamine of sorts that a lot of people stop learning. It's like the act of pretending like you're learning. Yes, true. Yeah, the internet's opened the door for information, yet it seems like people are seeking less of it. Um, it's really fascinating. But I think it's a couple things. I think it's a curiosity, number one. Yes, okay, yes, you can satisfy curiosity, but it's what are you curious about? If the way the internet's set up, if I go onto Instagram and I'm curious about a subject, oh, let's look this up. By the time I get to the subject, I've already changed my mind because I am bombarded by a million other things. Ads, this, friend video, blah, 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 right? But I think a more important thing to make a culture that's not, yeah, more info, less wisdom. Yeah, exactly. It's the flip, more wisdom, less info. Um, it's a sense of some sort of purpose, something. And I always call living in the jungle insta purpose. As soon as you're living off the land, you have insta purpose. Stay alive, off the land, live off the land. Find food, find shelter, find clean water, and live. There's your purpose. That's what animals do. When you work a job for somebody else so that you can afford your car, because you have to have a car to drive to get your groceries at the grocery store and then drive home, you just did all of this work when you could have just grown it in the backyard and not worked for that guy. You see what I'm saying? So now your purpose has a weird skilter to it. It's like is as opposed to a direct feeding yourself type of purpose. We've bombarded it with things. Ooh, red rummy. What's this? Ooh, okay. Ooh. Personality disorder could be a whole show. I think it's many places of a sense of community. Okay. Yeah. Well, community has purpose. It makes people have a purpose. It's part of the purpose thing. It's part of that. Yeah. Too busy, too disconnected, too stressed, too much time spent trying to survive. But to me, that's not it. It's not the survive. It's how you're doing it. It's not trying to survive is what we all do. That's all we have, and that's all there ever will be. It's the law of the jungle. Everybody has to survive, whether it be working as a slave for some rich guy or running around the jungle looking for food. It's going to be one or the other. To me, one of them is better. The jungle one's better. For me, personally. For you, it might not be. This is why values are very interesting, because not everybody has the same values. But I do think part of the problem is with purpose is you're like, oh my God, I just slave away for this rich guy and I get paid, but I'm not too happy. It's just our purposes are terrible. Most people don't like their jobs very much. You know, when I drive through McDonald's, I can tell which people like their jobs. I can look it in their eyes. I went through a McDonald's the other day and the guy, he had something funny. He said something funny when I pulled up. I don't remember what it was, but I was like, okay, he's having fun. And I'll bet the guy is the kind of person I can hang out with all day. I was like, all right, he knows how to make fun of this job. He's having a good time. My dad always told me when I was a kid, if you're a gas attendant, if you're pumping gas, be the best gas attendant in the world. Take it seriously. Love what you do. So I think that idea of purpose mixed with community, which is part of, I would say, when you're part of a community, you usually have a role to fulfill. You know, I'm the magic guy. Wherever I go, I'm the entertainer. If there's something going on and they're like, "Yo, you know how to organize people and you do it." You know, if I'm at an event and they need people to help get people into another room, it's always me. Hey, everybody, follow me. There's because I'm the showman. I know my role in my community. It makes me feel purpose. Oh, what's this? How do you relate to the people of the mud versus superhumans? What does that mean? Mud meaning... You got to explain that a little more, because I don't know what that is. Personality disorders are fascinating. The person that I said had borderline told me I had the narcissist disorder. So, of course, I look it up, and I've looked it up many times. And here's what I found. I remember going down the list of signs of it, and I was like, yeah, okay, I might have that one, I might have that one, I don't have that, and I have that. The ones that I had, if you don't have them, you can't be an entertainer. I mean, really. I'm like, all right, and my person, all right, now I get what you're saying. I'll go to there. What is mud person? Meaning mundane, like a regular guy? Is that what you mean by mud? I'll answer that question. Anywho, so the Ubermensch, the superhuman, Nietzsche never said he was the Ubermensch, even though he kind of was. But he said it's what the next great thing for humanity will be. It's the next level of human. It's where there's going to be people that have these qualities. And we can look in history and see how he described Ubermensch, who's Zarathustra in the story Thus Spoke Zarathustra, the Napoleon types. Those types, they're born that way. You don't become one. I'll say that. And you can't breed them like the dumb Nazis tried to do. They completely misunderstood Nietzsche's idea. I interpreted it as every now and then there are people born that are Ubermensches. They've got the qualities. They're above and beyond. They're beyond good and evil, so they do things sometimes that seem immoral and over the top. But they're the ones that take things to the next level, whether it be good or bad. It's neither. It's up. It's looking up, not down nor even. That's Ubermensch. And most people aren't that. That's my thoughts. I think everybody would like to maybe think of themselves as such. And I use it as a role model for how I reflect. If I make a decision, I'll think about it through those terms. Yeah, I mean, genetic lottery, every now and then someone's born, they've got the right pieces for that. Yeah. Can it be cultivated a bit? Yes, but why are some people better at cultivating it than others? That's also maybe a luck of the draw, isn't it all? From where I stand, we are all falling in the luck of the draw, and it's up to us of how we frame it. And through the framing is where we get to manipulate. It might not even be real, but it doesn't matter. It's the framing of it. That's what it seems. Remember that idea of philosophy bringing comfort? I think philosophy makes most people nuttier. But for me, it makes me more curious. It stimulates my curiosity. That's what I would say. If that makes any sense. Does that make sense? Yeah, I would say so. It's kind of crazy. Here, I have some notes here I wanted to really, before we wrap it up, because I still have a lot to say here. Purposeful suffering gives quality to the soul Oh yeah, purposeful suffering means training yourself to suffer a bit. What's it like not to eat a meal for a few days? What's it like to contemplate your loved ones passing away? It says it brings, I wrote this down earlier, emotional and psychological satisfaction. If you put yourself in these tests, it kind of makes you feel good about things. A chronic avoidance of pain and a habitual pursuit of shallow. Escapism. Erosion of the ability to take in any suffering. Any conflict is doom. So I wrote down, social circles dictate your morals. Cultural opioids. Escapism. Now, here's the question. When I talk about vapid people, if we went back to Socrates' time, would those vapid people then, obviously they had vapid people then, are they as vapid as the people today? Now I'll present an answer. No, they weren't. And the reason is because they were tied a little bit closer to nature. They still had to farm, garden. There was a little bit, it wasn't like a grocery store situation. Yes, there were markets, but it still was a little harder to live. Now, here's another example. When I was a little kid and I would visit my grandma on my bike, I had nothing but me and my thoughts. I couldn't log online. I did have it is like fasting in Lent. It's the exact same thing. Yeah. Except you're not doing it for God. You're doing it to train your own self, which is, in my world, a god of sorts. So the ancient world, when they walked to their grandma's house, they weren't filling all the holes in their head, meaning ears, eating, seeing, visual, like they weren't like logged into a computer talking to their buddy. Even when I'm driving, I put on a podcast. In the old days, I didn't do that. So I would say as we get away from even farther, even water, we don't have to go to get water from a well. We buy it in bottles. Everything's getting farther and farther away from the sources that actually give you a purpose on its crudest form. So I would say the ancient Vapids, different. It's just different. Yes, they probably were the same in a lot of ways. I think about that a lot, about how we relate to certain personality types and what that would have been thousands of years ago. And it's hard to say because of the variables involved and how our values and morals have changed. That's one of the other things I've learned a lot from Nietzsche is we like to put our modern moral brain and judge. Like, for instance, I think I did an episode on the slavery in the Bible, right? Well, we judge it from a modern brain. Back then, if your neighbors invaded you and you beat them and took over their stuff, how logical is it to own them and their property? You have to. If you don't, their son's going to do it to you in a couple years. So you just take them and you're like, you work for me now. That's it. It's normal to do that in that world. Now, we judge it as an immoral activity. But if we were all there, then you'd be like, well, you just do, well, I have to do that. We judge things. It's very shallow and filled with really like lame hubris to think that it was the same then, the values and the morals. It's very different. Did that make sense? Suffering as a solution. I wrote down profound suffering enables it. It ennobles and separates. That might even be a Nietzsche quote. Profound suffering ennobles. It is a Nietzsche quote. I wrote it down and I put quotes. Profound suffering ennobles. It separates. It makes you noble, and it separates you from the herd if you have extreme suffering. And if you suffer really extreme in this world, it makes it hard to relate to people because you've learned some values through it that are hard to explain. The hammer solves. So a lot of people, when they heard that Nietzsche's philosophy is the philosophy of a hammer, they interpret it as he's smashing all the other philosophies, which he is. The whole first chapter of Beyond Good and Evil is him literally shitting on every philosopher in detail. So, but Nietzsche was like, no, it's a tuning hammer. It's not a smashing hammer, it's a tuning hammer. You're hitting things to hear how they vibrate. And he said you should take this tuning hammer and hit your values. Dink. See if they're vibrating well. If their value you have, where it came from, why you have it. Why do you value this? Examine them all and use a hammer. Dink, dink, dink. Tap it. See what happens. That's the hammer. And that's what I use to solve problems. I hit it with a tuning fork. Wow. Damn, I talked for an hour without stopping. Was that fascinating or was that boring? I hope that was a good one. For me, that was a fun episode. We get good chats in here. If you're new to this channel, please hit the like and subscribe. I'm trying to hustle, You know what time it is right now? Oh, it's time. It's time for me to eat a snack. My son and I tonight made a big meal of bacon, liver, and onions. And it was delicious. We each ate a big fat beef liver covered in onions and bacon. If you are a liver person, I'm curious. I don't know many people that eat liver anymore. I love it. And the other thing is my son and I get along. We're both... He's over here now. He's probably laughing, listening to me. I think he has the most adventurous palate out of most people I know. Me and him. These shirts will be on Wacky Mart in the next week. Yes. What size are you? Yes. This is my Kings of the Downstroke, Rambones. They have sleeves. Pirate Girl, thank you. Here we go. Biz Zaffon. I don't know, how do you pronounce that? Lil Zaffon? So you like liver. So I think our snack tonight's going to be some fancy sardines and crackers. And it's also pot o'clock. XL, I got them. I got some XLs. I don't have double XL yet, but I'm going to get some. There's some big guys out here in the boardwalk that want it, and I'm like, all right, I'll get them. I think I have a couple extra smalls, too, which is hard to find. I know, I don't have that. That's... How many X's is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Really? You're a 4X? Do they even make that? Damn. All right, Stephanie O loves liver. Yes. From what I read, it is good for you to eat once a week. I just like the taste. I think it's delicious. There we go. Red Rummy. Do I know you, Red Rummy? Are we friends? That's a cool name. I'm glad you enjoyed it. All I'm trying to do is learn myself, throw some ideas out to friends, and they take it and they go do their own research and learn. And then, dude, I've made some good friends in this show that have sent me in new directions to look, and too many X's. All right, we have, okay, larges. All right. Yeah, I've got large. I have a good supply of these. So I'm going to put them up there this week. I believe they're going to be 20, 25 bucks, something there. I don't want to do 30. A lot of people are doing 30 for shirts now. To me, 20, 25-ish is the golden number for t-shirts. All right, so this is why this show's fun. the people that watch it, we have a lot in common, so. Excellent. Yes, my sister, you can get a Rambones shirt. You don't have to pay, Yvette. Excellent. All right. Wow. That was a lot. Well, I'm looking at my comments before I bounce. I'm going to go eat. I'm not going to, let me see. Should I play a video? I know what I'm going to play. I'm going to end with, oh, so you've seen, oh, all right. Cool. Well, Red Rummy, nice to meet you. I know you, but I don't know you. I love it. I'm at the Slip Room on December 22nd. So next week. I'm going to end with a Toilet Boy video. Should I play? I'm going to end with Toilet Boys live in London with the show that ended with some fire problems. This is pretty cool. All right, so this was episode 154. I don't know if I'm here next week. I might be. And stay tuned. Follow my Instagram. If you're the donating type, there's a link below. Thank you to all who donate. It means a lot. I do performing full-time. But the least you can do is hit the damn subscribe. I'm already a little high. I'm talking fast. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Here we go. Toilet Boys, live in London, 99. We got in trouble at this one. You'll see why.
It's good to be here in LA too. Rocking and rolling for you. You having a good time so far, London? I can't hear you. You having a good time, London? I thought we were in London, boys. You having a good time, London? All right. Shake your ass a little. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come alive like a suicide. At the end of my switchblade knife. Rock City's got teeth that bite, baby, shoot it up. We're going strong, up all night. Rock City gets down. Rock City's got wheels, it moves around. Rock City's got all on the floor. Overdrive. Come alive. Come on, baby. Get inside my rockin' limousine and ride, get high. I walk the streets up, moon is shining on the sidewalks, baby. Rock City gets down, teeth back to the necks of the screaming crowds, baby. The same is on. Ooh, London, I'm on fire.
We'll be back when they put the fire out. Look, can you make your way out, please? The cables are on fire and the light's going to go up. The fumes are toxic, so we just walk calmly to the exits and leave, please. All right?